Welcome to DISCflex certification.
So now that we've done our strengths and our potential challenges, the next thing you want to go over is what motivates the person and what stresses them out. Because again, yin and yang, motivating and stressing, which can hold you back from moving forward. So the next thing that we talk about are these motivators and stressors. Now this is built a little bit differently. You'll notice that they are six descriptors here. Now, what is amazing about this particular report is the first two are based on the person's pattern. So if you have your high D, high S, high low, C, whatever the heck it is, on that individual DISCflex factor, that's what your strengths and potential challenges were based on. Now we have to take into consideration the motivation of somebody based on their actual pattern. I'm a DI. That is who I am. So the first two descriptors for me would be DI descriptors. Now remember, there are 15 DISC patterns. So these first two descriptors are based on the person's overall behavioral pattern. A DI likes getting results through people. That's the D and the I combined in lockstep. This particular person is a high D, so their pattern is that D, and the first two descriptors are, they are results oriented, they're motivated by results, and they are motivated by challenge. They like challenge. They like it when you challenge them to do something. I mean, if you want to get a high D to do something, say, nah, you can't do that. And they'll go, yo, you watch me. I'll go find a way. I'll bust through that door. Or I'll go over it, under it, through it, whatever it is. That challenge is a motivator. Now, the first two, like I said, are based on the pattern. The next one is based just like the strengths and potential challenges, where the next four are based on your D, I, S, and C. So those precise levels, again, for this particular person is they like being the leader. That motivates them because they're high D. They've got an 80 on the D. A 48 on the I means that, they like kind of making decisions with those patterns as well. They like being able to work at a quick pace, and they like multitasking. And when you look at your stressors page on the report, you'll also notice that the first two, just like the motivators, are based on the pattern. So this person's pattern is a high D. So what those first two descriptive words are is those are the behaviors of the pattern that the person has. So this person gets stressed out when there are too many rules, when rules are imposed on them. They don't like that. That stresses them and makes them feel very, very uncomfortable. The next thing, because of their pattern, that high D pattern, is that they're not detail oriented. So details, too many details stress them out. So they might shut down, get annoyed with them, get annoyed with people talking about the details. But knowing that that's a stressor, if you know you're going to go into a stressful situation and you know that's going to stress you out, you can go, okay, breathe. Let's get some coping mechanisms here that I can deal with those stressors because of my pattern. And then the next one is in your specific pattern. When your D gets stressed, or your I gets stressed, or your S gets stressed, or your C gets stressed, it's going to exhibit in different ways. So the next four are your D, I, S, and C stressors. So this particular person, because they're just below the line at 48 on the I, the next stressor would be that they don't like relying on others. That's an I tendency. And the D tendency would be they get stressed out when they're not in control. That you can understand that with the D. They like control. So the first one is that not being in control stressor with D. The second one is the people orientation stressor, which is, relying on other people because they're below the line at 43. They're mid low on that. They don't like relying on other people. That stresses them out, even though they have to and they're in team environment and it's a requirement, it's still a stressor. Even though they have those behaviors, it will stress them out a bit. So those coping mechanisms are good and being aware of it. The next thing would be their S behavior that is a stressor would be for this particular person because they're below the line on that at that mid-range would be they don't like roadblocks. If they've decided they want to do something, putting a roadblock in front of them is not something that they like, because they're below the line in thoughtfulness. That putting roadblock means they have to step back and go into contingency planning and all sorts of things. And that means they've got to pop their S up, and that's stressful for them. So this is their S stressor. And then finally, the C stressor for this particular person is, because they're 43, below the line, again in the mid-range, maintaining organization is a stressor for them. So although they can do it because they're just below that line, maintaining it is stressful. So I can do it for short periods of time and then go ahead. So this particular person would have to learn that skill set, or even better, if that's a big stressor, get somebody else who on the team to maintain that organization. So that makes a lot of sense, how this report was built. So now that you know how it was built, you can coach to it. And so the certification in this page is very important. And again, the big takeaway, the recap from this is the first two in both the motivators and the stressors are based on the person's pattern. And then the next four are the individual D, I, S, and C motivators and stressors. So really important to coach to that knowledge in this report. This is a great page. I usually spend a lot of time with it when I'm coaching teams and individuals. Knowing what stresses out your coworker is really important, because you can be respectful of that and you can help them. Teammates help each other so that they don't get stressed out. And when you know things motivate your team member, you can actually give them more of that, or be respectful of not taking those things that would motivate them and maybe stress you out. So you can kind of balance out the stress and the motivation throughout the team, which is really fantastic if you're working together to achieve results and goals in an organization.